You know, in a world that feels like it's constantly changing, there's this one thing, one element that's been a constant. It's sparked obsessions, built entire empires, and it's even challenged the very idea of power. We're talking, of course, about gold.
But why? I mean, really, why? What is it about this one shiny yellow metal? How did it get this incredible grip on us, on our imagination, on our economies for thousands of years? All right, let's really dig into that.
Okay, so the story really kicks off with this powerful idea. It's a concept that lifts gold way beyond just being a shiny rock or a commodity. It's the idea that gold isn't just money. It's something deeper, something almost primal, maybe even divine. And that brings us to this term, God's money. Now, that's not just some fancy, poetic phrase. It actually means something very specific. It's talking about an asset that was created by nature, right? Not by a government. Something pure, something that there's a limited amount of, and something that, at its core, can't be messed with by people. Honestly, if you get this one idea, you've basically got the key to understanding the entire story of gold.
So to really get where this whole God's money thing started, we've got to go back in time. And I mean, way back. We're heading to the ancient world, a time and place where gold wasn't just valuable, it was considered sacred.
You can literally watch this idea build through history. Think about it. For the ancient Egyptians, gold was seen as divine, like straight from the gods. Then you jump forward to Lydia, and boom, they turn it into standardized coins, which completely changes the game for trade. The Romans, they used it to fund one of the biggest empires the world has ever seen, and it became the absolute lifeblood of global trade on the Silk Road. For literally thousands of years, gold was the foundation of power.
And this quote, this really hits it on the head. The flesh of the gods. I mean, just think about that. The pharaohs genuinely believed gold was the literal skin of their gods. So for them, having gold wasn't just about being rich. No. It was about touching immortality, connecting with the divine. And that's a seriously powerful psychological hook that, you could argue, has never really gone away.
So for centuries, for millennia, gold was really just for gods and kings. It was the fuel that ran empires. But what happens when that power, that divine metal, is suddenly up for grabs by anyone? Let's fast forward a bit, because that ancient obsession, it didn't just fade, it absolutely exploded. And it ended up forging a modern nation, all in this crazy, frantic hunt for God's money.
Picture this. The year is 1848, and deep in a California river, someone finds something shiny. That one tiny discovery is about to set off one of the biggest, most explosive migrations in all of human history.
And this is what gave us the 49ers. And listen, these weren't kings or pharaohs, not even close. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of regular people. You know, farmers, shopkeepers, sailors, coming from literally everywhere. And they risked it all. They crossed oceans. They crossed entire continents, all for the hope of finding their own little piece of that natural, untouchable wealth.
And the impact of this rush, I mean, it was world-changing. On the one hand, you have this incredible burst of creation. San Francisco basically went from a tiny village to a major city overnight. All that new wealth helped fuel the Industrial Revolution across the globe, and it sparked the massive project of building the Transcontinental Railroad. But there's a really dark side to this. This creation was built on destruction. The hunt for gold led to the violent, systematic ruin of Native American communities whose lands were just completely overrun. And that's the key thing to remember here. Gold's power is absolute, but it's not good or evil. It builds and it destroys with the exact same force.
Okay, so gold built empires, it forged a nation, got it. But that was all in the past, right? I mean, we live in a world of digital payments and crypto. You'd be forgiven for thinking this old yellow metal is just a relic. But you'd be wrong. Gold's role didn't just disappear, it just changed. So what does it do today? Well, it actually has a few huge jobs. First, it's the ultimate safe haven. When things get chaotic in the economy, investors run to gold to protect their money. Second, central banks, the big national banks, hold tons of it to keep their own currency stable. And you might not realize this, but it's also critical for industry. It's probably in the smartphone in your pocket, and it's used in life-saving medical devices.
And the way you own it has totally changed, too. Of course, you can still buy physical bars and coins, the old school, trusted way. But now, pretty much anyone can buy digital gold. We're talking about things like ETFs, which are basically just shares you can trade on the stock market. It's made this ancient asset easier to get your hands on than ever before.
All right, this is where the story gets really interesting, because it brings us to this fundamental fight. It's a battle of ideas, really, a philosophical and financial showdown over what money even is.
And when you boil it all down, the conflict is actually pretty simple. It's this question: who should control money? Should it be governments, who can basically create it out of thin air whenever they want? Or should there be something else, something independent, like gold, that nobody can just invent? Let's look at the two sides of this fight. In one corner, you've got what we can call man's money. This is your typical currency, like the dollar or the euro. Its value exists because a government says it does. They can print as much as they want, and it's all controlled by central banks. Then, in the other corner, you have God's money, gold. Its value is inherent. There's a limited supply of it in the world, and crucially, it's outside the direct control of any one government.
And here's why this isn't just a philosophical debate. This is where it hits your wallet. When a government needs cash, they often just print more. But when they do that, the value of every single dollar you have goes down. That's inflation. And if you look at history, that's the exact moment people start turning back to gold, trying to find a safe place to put their savings.
And believe me, this isn't just some abstract theory. The stakes can get really, really high. Get this. Back in 1933, right in the middle of the Great Depression, the U.S. government made it illegal for regular people to own gold. They literally forced citizens to hand it over. That tells you everything you need to know about how seriously governments take this challenge to their power.
And that struggle, that fight for financial freedom, it is absolutely still happening today. In fact, you can see the same exact idea playing out with the rise of cryptocurrencies. A lot of people look at something like Bitcoin and see it as the new digital gold. It's another attempt to create an asset for our time that's decentralized and free from government control.
And yet, after all this time, all these changes, gold is still here. It's proven itself for thousands of years. It's a symbol of stability that has outlasted empires, outlasted economic fads. It's still the ultimate God's money, something that has stood up to the test of time and to the test of human power. So that leaves us with one big question, looking to the future. As our money becomes more and more abstract, just numbers on a screen, does that make something real, something tangible that you can actually hold in your hand? Does that make a physical piece of God's money more valuable than ever before? Something to think about, right?